Welcome to another edition of Closer to Home Small Business Spotlight. As a realtor, I find it really important to have professionals and referrals across all different lines of business and within the community to help my clients get the answers they need for anything from housing or across the board. Today, I think, is a really important conversation and one that isn't often had. Today I'm sitting with Katie Prezas, who is the owner of Empowering Lactation here in Park Ridge, who is helping soon-to-be moms, new moms, and even other professionals, not only with the physical but the mental health of themselves and their babies. So, how are you?
Good, Paul. How are you?
Good. I'm doing great, and
Good.
I really appreciate you taking time to
course.
talk about this. So there's a lot to unpack there, but give me a little bit about your background as well as how you came about starting Empowering Lactation.
Yeah. So I'm an international board certified lactation consultant. I also hold a certificate in perinatal mental health, which is a lot of words to say that I help people figure out breastfeeding. So I do home visits and I see patients once a week at the Birth Center of Chicago, helping people figure out how to feed their babies, whether that's through breastfeeding, pumping, bottles. A combination of all three of those things is usually what we end up landing on because moms these days want choices and they want flexibility. And so many of us are pulled in a million different directions that we can't always, be sitting on the couch nursing our baby 24/7. We want to be able to have bodily autonomy, but also be able to, go have coffee with a friend or go have dinner with our husband. And that's where things like pumping and bottle feeding can be really beneficial. And so my inclusion of mental health allows me to really take a look at the whole person, that's the parent, and make sure that we're developing a feeding plan that supports her holistically. So are we setting up a feeding plan that is going to keep mom in a good headspace and not be too overwhelming?
Gotcha. Okay.
Both of us have kids, right? And if you remember far back, those first couple weeks in particular are really, really rough. So the sleep deprivation and just the frequency that babies need our attention and feeds can be really overwhelming. So
it was overwhelming for me.
Yeah.
I don't even go into how overwhelming it was for my wife. So
Right,
I mean,
exactly.
that's why I feel like it's such an important piece.
Yeah.
When did these conversations start for your clients? When do they reach out to you?
Yeah.
What is that step?
That's a great question. So I wish everyone reached out to me when they were still pregnant. Because especially for first-time parents, getting even just like a couple of tips while you're still pregnant can be such a stress reliever when you do get home with that baby and you're like, what did Katie say? Oh, right. These are the three things I need to remember. Because it can be really overwhelming. You're in the hospital, everyone's saying you're doing great, and then you get home and things change from day 2 or 3 to day 5 or 6. So a lot of times I get the hectic client reach out at day 5 or 6 when they're at home and they're like, everything was going great, but I don't know what I'm doing now. Because it's just a completely different animal at that point.
And I would assume that the way we felt when we got home was all of a sudden you get home and you just kind of go, well, now what? I mean, with everything. So then you add the stress on of feeding your baby to that, and you don't have people that you just know you can ask. So,
Yep.
Gotcha. Where do they usually find you?
A lot of people find me on social media.
Okay.
Because I have a strong mental health lens through which I care for my patients, I get a lot of referrals from therapists.
Okay.
So people that are already in talk therapy for anxiety, depression, OCD, a combination of all of these things or other stuff, they know that I'm going to provide the type of supportive care that they need postpartum, because it can be a really rife time for symptoms to elevate of all of those mental health issues. So social media, therapists, and then word of mouth, like people that know me, patients that know me and send me their friends, which is always wonderful.
How long is the process? How long do you usually see clients, or how many sessions? I'm sure that varies too.
Totally varies. So I've looked at my kind of history with clients before, and about half of them I see once and never again, which for me is good because it means they're off to the races and they don't need me anymore. Perfect. Right. That's what I want. And then about half of them I'll see multiple times. It just depends on what we're dealing with, right? If it's kind of a chronic thing that we need to get under control, if it's, she had some tissue damage and we're trying to heal and, that takes time, and how do we adjust? I also do a lot of work with babies who are tongue-tied. So a lot of times I'll see patients before they have that released, and then I'll see them after and do aftercare for them. So it really just depends on kind of what we're dealing with.
Okay. And then is this something as well, I mean, whether it's from the hospital to home or just at home, is insurance play a part in this?
Yeah. So I can accept most PPOs.
Okay.
Aetna, Blue Cross, United, the list goes on, through a third party called the Lactation Network.
Okay.
And people, if you don't live in or around Park Ridge or you're in other places of the country, anyone can go on the Lactation Network's website, put their insurance info in, and be paired with an IBCLC in their area. And that'll be covered 100% by their insurance if they are able to verify coverage, which is great. And they will accept 6 visits. So like as soon as you're accepted, you get
wonderful.
6 visits. So a lot of times I don't even get to that, but
So if it's 1, it's great, but at least you have up to 6
yes,
in case.
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything that we haven't touched on, even this brief conversation, because I'm sure we could go on for a while,
Yes.
that you want to make sure people are aware of if they're thinking about it or having those challenges?
Yeah. So definitely we breastfeed in a bottle feeding world, which makes it really difficult. And a lot of people, even if you don't have a history of anxiety, depression, that sort of thing, you can really get in your head about why is this not working? And so one thing I always teach my patients and anyone that will listen is that breastfeeding is a skill that you have to practice in order to get better at.
Okay.
It's like walking and talking, not like seeing and hearing, right? So we're born with the ability, most of us, to see and hear. We don't have to be taught how to do that. But if we were raised in a place where no one ever spoke or no one ever walked, we would never speak or walk, right? You have to be shown, and you have to practice. You have to fall down and get up and keep trying, right? And that's what nursing is. So 100 years ago, we would live in a village where all of the community women, right, would come out and be like, oh, honey, put your hand here. Oh, why don't you hold the baby like this? Have you tried this,
help.
right? That sort of thing. We don't live like that anymore.
No.
And especially since COVID, we're so isolated after we have babies that no one's there to teach us these little things, which is why lactation consultants even exist.
And there's probably, to an extent, that expectation of, well, I should just be able to do it.
Correct. And that's what's really confusing about pregnancy and lactation, right? Because pregnancy, once you get pregnant and you can stay pregnant, you don't have to really do anything. Like your body's going to grow that baby, and through one method or another, it is going to exit your body, right?
Right.
You don't have to be even a willing participant. Like it's going to come out, right? Lactation, totally different. But you think, well, this baby just came out, I should just know. Well, nothing magical. No one endows you with all this knowledge as you have the baby of like, and here's how you breastfeed, right? You have to try it, you have to practice it. And even as you have subsequent children, it's like learning how to dance with a new partner. You might have been really great at dancing with that first kid, but then the next one comes and they have 2 left feet, right?
Yeah.
So you guys have to learn each other's rhythms and patterns, and it's kind of a whole nother learning curve. So.
Oh my gosh, so much here.
Yeah.
So much here. But terrific that you have that knowledge base and you're here to assist with that as well. So I really appreciate you taking time to talk through it.
Yeah,
So
of course.
I will get Katie's information into to the link below. If you have questions, definitely reach out. Social media, Google Empowering Lactation in Park Ridge for Katie Prezas, and I know she'll be happy to help. When it comes to real estate, if you are looking in Park Ridge or the surrounding areas and I can be of assistance, you have questions, don't ever hesitate to reach out. I am always happy to answer those questions as well. And just remember, when you're working with Paul, you're closer to home.